You hear the name Tom Brady, and you probably think of one thing, right? Winning. But the real story, the one that truly defines his legacy, it's not just about all the trophies. It's about the insane journey he took to them. So let's dive into that.
Because this is really the whole mystery, isn't it? This is not a story about some can't-miss blue-chip prospect. It's about a guy who was completely and totally overlooked, who somehow clawed his way to the absolute peak of his sport. So seriously, how on earth did he do it? Okay, let's start with the number that basically says it all. 7. And that's not just some random number. That is the number of Super Bowl championships Tom Brady won. In a sport like football, a team sport, that figure is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And here's what that really means. Just to put it in perspective, he didn't just win more than any other player. He won more than any entire team in the history of the NFL. Think about that. One guy versus 32 whole organizations. It's staggering. To really understand how he got there, we have to go back, way back to the beginning. Because the legend of Tom Brady, it doesn't start with him on some pedestal. No, it starts with him being completely, utterly underestimated by pretty much everyone. What's so wild about this is the pattern. I mean, look at this. At every single level, he had to fight for it. He shows up at the University of Michigan, and he's the 7th string quarterback. 7th. He has to battle a top recruit just to get on the field. And then he gets to the NFL draft and just sits there, watching 6 other quarterbacks get picked before him. 198 other players heard their name called before Tom Brady did. You know, the pressure at Michigan was so bad, he actually thought about transferring. He was so frustrated and anxious about his position that he hired a sports psychologist just to help him cope with being buried so deep on the depth chart. And yet, despite all that doubt from the outside world, his belief in himself was just unshakable. The moment he finally gets drafted by the Patriots, this kind of skinny kid from the 6th round walks up to the team's owner, Robert Kraft, looks him right in the eye, and says this. I mean, talk about calling your shot. But see, this overlooked prospect wasn't just happy to have a spot on the team. He was there to take over. And when his big chance finally arrived, he grabbed it and never let go, building one of the greatest dynasties in the history of sports. This right here is the moment everything changed. It's his 2nd season, and the Patriots' star quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, gets a really serious injury. Brady steps in, and, well, you know the rest. He leads that team all the way to the Super Bowl, where they were massive 14-point underdogs, and they won. And it wasn't some fluke. What came next was just pure dominance. Boom, boom, boom. He rattles off 3 championships in 4 years. The Brady-Belichick era was officially on, and the entire league was suddenly on notice. This is the picture that defined his early career, right? Cool under pressure, always clutch, and basically unbeatable when it mattered most. In fact, he won his first 10 playoff games in a row, an NFL record that, still stands today. But his career wasn't just a simple straight line to the top. The middle part of his story was defined by the highest of highs and some incredibly tough lows. It really tested his resolve in a whole new way. Just look at this contrast. It's unreal. In 2007, he has what might be the single greatest season a quarterback has ever had. Leads the Patriots to a perfect 16-0 record. The very next year, week 1, he suffers this catastrophic knee injury, and his season is just over. It's such a brutal reminder of how fast things can change in this sport. And the hits weren't just physical. Years later, he had to deal with the whole Deflategate scandal. It was this massive controversy that just dragged on, and it ended with a 4-game suspension. It was a real challenge to his reputation and his legacy. But this is where the story gets truly amazing. A lot of careers would have just fizzled out after all that. Brady's? It entered a legendary second act, one that was all about unbelievable resilience. Okay, this is the moment. Super Bowl LI. They're playing the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots are just getting destroyed. It's 28-3, late in the 3rd quarter. It looked completely hopeless. I mean, for anyone else, the game was over. Done. But it wasn't over. The Patriots, with Brady at the helm, scored 25 unanswered points to force the first overtime in Super Bowl history. And then they went on to win. It's still widely considered the greatest comeback of all time, period. And he wasn't just hanging around either. He was still dominating. 2 years after that insane comeback at 41 years old, an age when most QBs are long gone, he won his 6th ring. He became the only player in NFL history to ever do that.
Now, you'd think that would be the perfect way to end a career, but Tom Brady had one final chapter he needed to write, one last challenge he had to conquer to cement his legacy forever.
After 20 seasons and 6 championships, he left the Patriots. He went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that hadn't made the playoffs in 13 years. The question on everyone's mind was it Brady, or was it the Patriots system all along?
Well, he answered that question, and he answered it immediately. In his very first year there, he didn't just end their playoff drought, he took them all the way. He silenced every single last doubter out there. And he did it at age 43. 43! He didn't just win, he was the MVP of the game, securing his 7th and final championship. This proved, once and for all, that his greatness could go anywhere and was absolutely timeless. So when you finally step back and just look at the numbers, they're honestly breathtaking. The most wins ever, the most passing yards ever, the most touchdowns, and of course, those 7 rings and 5 Super Bowl MVPs. These aren't just records, they're like monuments that might seriously never be broken. Which really brings us all the way back to that first question. Sure, he had a great arm, of course he did, but when you look at the whole journey, from the 19th, 99th pick to the undisputed GOAT, you really have to wonder if his true superpower was a mindset that was constantly, relentlessly fueled by the idea that he always had something left to prove.